Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners, to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Briar-Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether it's auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, there is nobody better in the business to work with than the great people over at Briar-Greaves Insurance. For more information, visit briargreavesinsurance.com or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. It is a Tuesday edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Hello to everybody that is filing into the chat in the comments. We look forward to reading and responding to many of them, and of course answering super chats when they come about. We're going to continue our camp coverage preview with today talking about wide receivers, tight ends, and offensive linemen of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look at some players, look at some position and camp battles, and we have a little uniform news to talk about, so let's get into it. I'm your host, Matt Patera. Joined with me is SR, Scott Reynolds of PewterReport.com. Hello, Scott. How we doing?
Doing good. We are inching closer to the start of Bucs training camp, which will begin in technically, 7 days. The players report a week from today for training camp. Crazy to think. And then they practice on the 23rd, which is next Wednesday. So we will be doing 5 podcasts next week because there's Bucs practices on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We'll do our usual Monday press conference as well, and then we'll have a Tuesday press conference. I'm assuming there'll be some media availability, maybe a press conference from Todd Bowles or so, or maybe they'll just go right into practice and we'll get the players afterwards. We'll find out. But nevertheless, we're going to have a lot of Bucs content starting next week when the players take the fields and start this 2025 season in earnest with training camp. And Matt, it's I don't want to jinx it, but there's been a lot of cloud cover. There's been a lot of rain in the Tampa Bay area. This might not be. Why am I even saying this? I'm jinxing it.
Yeah.
I'm pulling an Adam Slavon here. I'm jinxing it, right?
He always
but
does that.
let me just finish my thought. Maybe this won't be like a hot human training camp. Maybe this will be somewhat mild and breezy. A guy can hope, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can manifest it. You can try to will it into existence.
There we go.
What I hope for is that if it's going to rain before the players hit the field so we can go, oh, all right, practice is going to be inside.
Yes.
The tough part is when you're outside practicing and then it rains, and then obviously everyone's safety is most important because there's usually thunder and lightning as well, but you got to get everyone inside. Media's got to get inside. The fans got to get inside as well. So it gets a little crazy and chaotic and hectic and stuff like that. And it delays practice. It makes it go longer because there's that little transition time. So that's what I'm rooting for is to just not have the in-between. Either have it one or the other. Because you know what? It's going to be hot. We'll find some shade. I'll lose a lot of water weight from sweating it out and everything like that. So, I always like training camp because it is – it's really hot and everything like that, but it's the one time where we're legit up close, front and center to watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're there at the games and things like that. And we're at practice. Practice, we only get 30 minutes. The games we're up in the press box, and it's cool. We're watching an NFL game, but training camp, you're right in the thick of it, and I love that part of it.
I did too. You get to watch an entire practice, all the 11-on-11 stuff. You kind of see how this offense and defense develops. You get to really watch the individual training camp battles if you want. And really, it's just a smorgasbord of football. It's even more fun once the pads come on for the first time. So we're looking forward to that. Just like you guys are looking forward to having 2 throwback games this year, not just the creamsicle game in week 15, which is that orange jersey, white pant festivity at Raymond James Stadium against the Falcons this year. But the team, no surprise, they unveiled their other throwback uniform, which will be debuted in week 3 against the New York Football Jets. And it is the all-white orange number 1976 throwback. Now, granted, the Buccaneers didn't win a single game in this jersey.
Correct.
So they're looking for win number 1 50 years later. And maybe they'll get it against the Jets. And maybe that will be a 3-0 start, right? That would be nice for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, a team that has started off, but then has had to dig its way out of a hole in the midseason the last couple of years to win the division. But the Throwbacks have arrived. These are the original Throwbacks. This is the first jersey ensemble that the Bucs wore, and they switched to the red numbers with the orange outline. Shortly thereafter, I want to say it was the 77 season, because back then they didn't have high definition television.
Yeah.
And the orange numbers on the white uniforms didn't really show up well on TV. And the announcers had a really hard time. And if you were, let's put it this way, if you went to the Big Sombrero, the original Tampa Stadium, the press box was all the way at the top. It was a Herculean effort. You needed binoculars to even see the field, really. And so the Buccaneers accommodated the NFL. They changed to red jersey, or I should say red numbers on the white jerseys. And that's why they didn't have the orange numbers outside of, I believe, just one season, the 76 season. So the team came out with the new look, which is the old look. And here you see Vita Vea from the photo shoots. The Buccaneers gave us some of these photos to use. There's friend of the program, Zion McCollum, and Matt. They put out some pretty cool video footage as well.
Yeah, they did. Let's take a little inside look, and thanks to the Bucs for sending over this B-roll as well. But it's a little bit of the jerseys being hung up in the locker room, the helmet itself, and then some hype videos from the Bucs players in these new throwback uniforms as well. So you can see this first one here: Rachaad White, of course, Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving. Our first look as well as Chris Godwin Jr. on back of the uniform. Remember, that was an adjustment this year with Chris Godwin going by Chris Godwin Jr. So that was our first look at that one. You see Levante, Trista Wirfs, Kalijah Cansey. This one, a little bit closer detail. You see the 50th season patch. It's going to be on every Bucs jersey, not just the throwback, of course, made by Nike as well. And again, a little more up close and personal with the uniforms themselves. Then we'll get to a couple of the players reacting to it. Some hype videos I think you might see for that Week 3 game as well, starting with our friend of the program, Yaya Diaby. Mike Evans as well. And I like what he's about to do in just a moment. It's one of his sack celebrations. Not that
Sub-Zero.
Yeah. There we go. And there's Mike Evans. Of course, he's got the famous punching
uppercut.
And stuff like that. Yeah, uppercut. He's trains UFC, so fitting for Mike. Then it went over to Chris Godwin, who just kind of clapped, not the craziest celebration.
Flex Force, Chris. There you go.
Yeah. Then it goes to Bucky Irving, which very spot on for Bucky. Just like, I'm just going to sit here and stand here.
A man of few words and many yards.
Yeah. Kalijah Cansey as well.
Not as animated as Yaya,
Yeah.
But, you get a little bit of a soft flex there.
This entire one is dedicated to Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield is a showman. He's had a lot of ads and sponsorships and commercials. He knows what he's doing in these type of things. You'll see him get a little more outgoing in just a moment, trying to hype up the crowd. So.
That's a little Gus Swayze right there, isn't it?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. I like the all the stuff in the background as well. As now we see Zion locking down the receivers this year.
No. Here
Vita Vea with the lawnmower. Love that one. That's been a sack celebration for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Rachaad White in the mix.
I like Rachaad getting his due, right? He's been supplanted as RB1, but still very, very cool. And of course, Winfield Jr. looking for that bounce back season.
Yeah, he's part of the core nucleus. But I like that they looked back at the 50-year patch as well. I kind of like that the video behind the players reacting and stuff was a mixture of Bucs in their current day red, or the red that they wore when they won the Super Bowl in 2002 as well. And then of course the creamsicle, and now this throwback one from 1976. I think these uniforms, as Timothy Wood says, love the unis. I think they're fresh. I think they are really good looking. And I saw some fans complaining too, not about the jerseys themselves, that they're only going to be for 1 year, because I think a lot of people are hypothesizing that the following year they'll change the jersey numbers the way that they did, the color of it, the way that they did, as you were talking about, after the 1976 season. And that's fine. I get it, but highly recommend going out and getting one of these jerseys or shirts and stuff like that, because it is going to be the only uniform. Even if you go with a modern day Bucs jersey, it's going to be the only one with the 50-year anniversary patch.
That's
because it's the 50-year anniversary. If you buy it next year, it's their 51st season. They're not going to do a patch for that one.
Yeah, and the thing too is as Timothy Ward says, why not wear these versus Seattle? We've kind of thrown that out there too as maybe a possibility. The team kind of threw this as a surprise out there, not a well-kept surprise because we've kind of known about it for about a month now. But they came out with the creamsicle game, and then they sprung these jerseys and uniform combination on us. And we've also thought, well, why not wear these? Because it would be a road jersey as well with the white. Yeah. Why not wear these out in Seattle for another throwback game as the Seahawks and the Buccaneers both entered the league in 1976, both franchises celebrating 50 years of football. And maybe they will. Remember, back in 2020, the Buccaneers debuted the alternate pewter on pewter look with the new pewter jerseys, right? They've kind of put those on the back burner a little bit. We might see the all pewter look later this year. We'll see. That might be a surprise. But they wore those pewter jerseys 3 times during the 2020 season. So that they might wear these white throwback jerseys from the 1976 season out there a couple of times this year. And maybe that Seahawks game, I think, would be a very appropriate game to wear them if Seattle wanted to match them with their own throwback look with the silver helmet and the blue jerseys as well.
No, I think that's a great idea because we actually saw as well the Atlanta Falcons kind of came out with some of the jerseys that they're going to be wearing. And that Thursday night game when the Bucs are rocking the creamsicle, the Falcons are going to be wearing one of their throwback cool. Uniforms and outfits with the red helmet and the black old school Falcon logo with the black jersey. So that Thursday night game is going to be aesthetically pleasing. And, I also understand some fans don't like the fact that it reminds them of, the team that didn't win a game in 1976 or a team that, perennially kind of lost in the creamsicles. I will say, even though I wanted them to wear the orange creamsicles against a team like the Saints, who they have the best shot against, not a bad choice going with the Jets in week 3. Now we'll see how improved the Jets are with, Justin Fields as their quarterback, but it is a more winnable home game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So even though it's their first home game of the season, I do like that they picked a team that the odds are they should beat the New York Jets, and we'll see what happens when it goes on in week 3. But I do like the choice of going with probably a more winnable game than most.
Yeah, agreed. Kansas State had a hard time winning in its alternate uniforms, and so there was a push to make that uniform against an FCS opponent in week 1 or something, just to get the W out of the way. It didn't happen, but we actually beat. We beat Rutgers. We beat Greg Schiano and Rutgers in the bowl game wearing the white helmet and the white pants instead of the silver helmet, silver pants. So the alternate look finally got a win. Maybe the Buccaneers do the same in these throwback uniforms going back to 1976 and get that initial win in them. So that's pretty cool. We're going to be talking about the offensive players that comprise the tight end, wide receiver, and offensive line position today as we continue our previews, getting you ready for Bucs training camp, which starts next week. Just a quick reminder of some upcoming programs. We've got the Buccaneers defensive line, defensive tackles and outside linebackers, plus the inside linebackers, previewing that tomorrow at 4 o'clock here on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. Make sure you head over there and subscribe. We're on our way to 20,000. We're less than 400 subscribers away from the big 20,000. And you can help us get there by going to Pewter Report TV, hitting the subscribe button. It's free. Then on Thursday, Adam Slaban joins the program as we preview cornerbacks, safeties, and special teams heading into training camp. Just a quick reminder, we did schedule Larry Foote to come on, and Coach has said that he will come on once training camp has started. We've also gotten a confirmation from offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard, who texted me. He wants to come on as well. But the new media policy is we have to wait until the players report for camp and camp actually begins before they open up media availability for the assistants. But we have both of those coaches coming on sooner rather than later, probably by the first week of August. And we're looking forward to those. Those might be a primetime podcast because sometimes the coaches have meetings in that 4 to 5 o'clock hour. So be on the lookout. We'll certainly give you guys as much warning as we can on social media, also here on our podcast. But that might be a primetime podcast, maybe 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8 Eastern time. We'll let you know. One thing we do know is I got confirmation today. I was speaking with an old friend of mine and probably an old friend of yours too, a very familiar face, Bucs legend Tony Dungy, Hall of Fame coach, the engineer of the Buccaneers turnaround as the team went from the Yuccaneers to the Buccaneers under his watch. Tony Dungy will be joining the program on August 4th, which is a Monday, August 4th. So we'll be into training camp. The Bucs won't have a practice that day. So there was nothing to really talk about in terms of practice, endeavors, but we're going to have coach on instead. So that's really cool. So Monday, August 4th, mark your calendar from 4 to 5 p.m. Special guest, former Bucs legendary coach Tony Dungy would join the Pewter Report podcast again.
Yeah, he was on last year, so he is a friend of the program, but excited to have Coach Dungy back on to some great work with NBC, and obviously has a great history with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm excited that he will be returning.
Yeah. Grizzard is not a friend of the program
Not yet.
But once he joins the Pewter Report podcast, he will be. And so, yes, as Rolf says, Grizz is coming on the show. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And also Larry Foote, that's going to be a very entertaining one as well. Coach Foote always entertains in his press.
I get excited for, any Bucs personnel guest, whether it's a coach, former player, former coach, stuff like that. But Larry Foote, I am particularly interested in because I think he's great when he's up at the podium or the lectern, if you will, during the week for practice. And we only get him every other week because there was co-defensive coordinators. But he's opinionated, but not in a outlandish type of way. He's a very smooth talker as well. So I definitely am excited for everyone, but particularly Larry Foote to see his opinions, what he has to say specifically about this team, even going back to his playing days, stuff like that. So a lot of great stuff coming up.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having more Buccaneer personnel on the podcast all the way through football season, too. We've had a great offseason with Todd Bowles and Jason Light and Mike Beal and Yaya Diaby and
Michael
Zion
Pratt.
McCollum. Yeah, we've had a lot of Bucs personnel on, so we're looking forward to continuing that. Matter of fact, I just put a new Pewter Report story in the chat if you want to take a look at that after the show or during the show. It's the Pewter Report's top 50 all-time Bucs, numbers 16 through 20. And if you go to pewterreport.com, you can see the picture of Hardy Nickerson doing that Hulk flex that he did so many times, leading the Bucs defense to prominence. So be sure to check that article out as well. And I'll have a Pewter Pulse tomorrow, and that's going to be talking about the top training camp battles as I see it. So we're going to be looking forward to training camp, Matt, and we're kind of previewing some of the storylines that we believe will be affecting the rest of the offense. We previewed running backs and quarterbacks yesterday, so we're going to dive into wide receivers, tight ends, and offensive linemen today. Let's start with the offensive line because the biggest news this summer has not been good news. It's been Tristan Wirfs, expected to miss the first couple of games of the season, probably on the PUP list due to knee surgery that happened just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so that's one of the not just the biggest storylines with the offensive line, one of the biggest storylines on the team really at the moment is how is this unit and this offensive line specifically going to navigate not having Tristan Wirfs for the first couple of games of the year. And I don't really want to repeat everything that we talked about on our emergency show and even yesterday's show, but Charlie Heck is going to be the guy. And at least for the time being, until the Bucs decide, oh, well, maybe we need someone else. But Charlie Heck is going to be starting at left tackle, and you'd rather have it now versus a week before their first game of the season when they're on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. You want to give Charlie Heck as much time to participate and get acclimated to playing next to the rest of the guys on the offensive line as possible. So it's a huge story. All eyes are going to be on Charlie Heck, and I'm not trying to steal the headline from Josh Capo and his story this morning, but this is a guy with experience. Other stories along the offensive line is what does Tampa Bay do with the rest of the depth at offensive tackle? Because you have unpolished guys like Ben Chukwuma, who is exciting as a prospect, but it by no means is ready to, take the reins of an NFL game, at least in the regular season. Lorenz Metz is a guy that was an international exception. He's not NFL ready. He's way too slow. So, like, what are your other options at offensive tackle in-house? I think that's a good question for Jason Light. And then on the interior, let's remember Robert Hainsey isn't there anymore, and he was very important to the development and growth of Graham Barton. Now Graham Barton's a little bit on his own this year because the only other guy in there was someone from his own draft class in Elijah Klein. So does Elijah Klein become the backup center and the go-to essentially swing guy on the interior offensive line? These are some of the big storylines that I think are the ones that head into training camp this year. They're not necessarily positional battles because you got your main swing guy when Tristan Wirfs is healthy with Charlie Heck, and you have your main interior guy with Elijah Klein. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the development that Kevin Carberry can get out of these players.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Klein that's interesting is he did some cross training, as the Bucs will do with their interior guys, and got acclimated to the center positions. Never played it before, but the team does have Jake Majors, who was a 3-year starter at Texas, and they really like him. He's really kind of taken them by storm a little bit by his communication, his football IQ. He's a good athlete. He's got experience. Yeah, for sure. So it'll be interesting to see who replaces Robert Hainsey and who's that first offensive lineman in the interior off the bench. Klein brings some versatility because he's a natural guard who can also play some center. And I think we're going to see him get some snaps at the center position in the preseason, which he didn't do last year. He made a surprise start at right tackle when the team was incredibly thin in Jacksonville. But he's more of a natural guard, and we'll see him a little bit at center during camp in the preseason for sure. But the team does like Jake Majors. He might be more of a center only, but like Elijah Klein, he'll get cross-trained at guard as well, just to increase that versatility. You only keep 10 offensive linemen. So if you're an interior guy, you got to be able to play both. Just like if you're a backup offensive tackle, you probably need to be a swing tackle as well. And again, we'll see if the team does end up signing another offensive tackle. And maybe with 2 weeks, this team feels a little bit better about Tristan Wirfs' rehab and recovery. Some people are very quick healers, and some kind of take that prescribed amount of time. Some take a little bit longer. And we saw Tristan Wirfs take a little bit longer when the team tried to just rest and rehab it. And that need didn't really come around as the team had hoped. So that is going to be a big storyline there. The other thing, too, I think is we saw the emergence of Ben Bredeson last year, going from a journeyman to a guy that really earned a 3-year, $21 million contract that all kind of took us by surprise in free agency. And now I'm curious to see, can younger players like Graham Barton at center really make a huge step forward like Bredeson did under the tutelage of Kevin Carberry and Brian Picucci, who were kind of like gurus at the position? And Cody Mauch really became, I think, a Pro Bowl caliber guard. I know Josh Capo believes that as well. And as he gets one step closer to his contract year, which will be next year, can he ascend and truly become a Pro Bowl level guard and maybe join guys like Chris Lindstrom, with that Pro Bowl designation? He's a phenomenal player, and he's made some huge leaps and bounds as a former left tackle at North Dakota State, quickly transitioning, changing his body, getting bigger and stronger. I mean, he looks huge compared to when he walked in the building, right? Like he has more of that guard physique now than he does as a rookie when he was a left tackle in college coming into the building.
Yeah, real quick on Ben Bredeson. He became a cult hero.
Love that
in
picture.
This game. So this picture is for Bucky Irving, but I think the headline is Ben Bredeson blocking there as his helmet is off. And
I don't need a helmet.
Yeah, that just shows his dedication to the game and willingness to to help this team win. As far as the other starting offensive linemen, it is good that they do have a track record of players and guys really stepping up going into year 2, or for this case with Cody Mauch going into year 3, because we even saw, Luke Gedeke, and that was a little bit of a different situation, but abysmal rookie year, moves to a different position at right tackle in year 2. And, now he's so important to this team on so many different levels. Cody Mauch really picked up his game last year. And at times it felt a little all over the place, but I feel like towards the end of the year, he really kind of harnessed everything together. And we're going to see that guy that is agile, tough, obviously very strong with hitting the weight room. And I love when he gets to the second level. To me, that's one of Cody Mauch's best parts of his game. Yeah. I love the agility that he has. I remember, I think this was Mauch's rookie year, but Rachaad White, the Bucs were getting blown out by the 49ers, but Rachaad White had a nice screen pass they took for a touchdown. And Cody Mauch was like as stride for stride as possible as he could be with Rachaad White, and was his valet into the end zone. And I think the Bucs can really utilize that. I think it's no surprise that their screen game has been so good over the past 2 years, especially last season, because you got a lot of agile, athletic offensive linemen that can get up the field, and Cody Mauch is a big part of that.
But Matt, I don't know if there's a more athletic center guard combo than Graham Barton and Cody Mauch, because these guys, when they're out on pulls or if they're out in front of a screen pass, it's like they're racing each other to get downfield to block defensive backs. I mean, it's kind of comical at times because they're so fast and athletic for big 300+ pound dudes, right? And I mean, Graham Barton, when he came out, he had, I want to say it was a 9.99 RAS score, which is, I want to say he was the number 3 guard since 1987 to come out. And obviously he plays center, but he was projected to be a guard. So he is the 3rd most athletic interior offensive lineman to come out since 1987. That's how much of an athlete this guy is. And Cody Mauch is right there too, man. He's an absolute freak running down the field.
No, that's very impressive. And Graham Barton, I don't worry about him making the jump to year 2 the way that I certainly did about Luke Gedeke, the way that I did with Cody Mauch. And Ben Bredesen's a different story. He signed as a free agent, and Tristan Wirfs was great from the beginning. But I don't worry as much about Graham Barton because he already has the work ethic and the right complement of how to study. And he's very grounded. I think he's understanding it quickly, but also understanding that he doesn't know everything. So he knows what he knows, but he also knows what he doesn't know and what he specifically needs to work on. And as long as you have that work ethic and the understanding, there's a reason why he was a first-round pick, because he already has the physical abilities. So he's almost too good to fail in terms of, when do we see first-round picks not work out? It's when guys kind of rest on their laurels, when guys don't put in the effort because they think that they made it. When Graham Barton realized, I'm just scratching the surface by getting drafted. I didn't make it by becoming a first-round pick. And I think Graham Barton, and he said it a little bit the last time we had him in a press conference, and I think he still feels it. Mm-hmm. You got to wipe the slate clean, but I still feel like that he thinks that he let everybody down, the fans, his teammates, and everything, with that botched snap play at the end of the last offensive drive. And I think that's going to really motivate him.
I do too.
And be fuel for him this year to play with a gigantic chip on his shoulder, saying that, like, this will never happen again. And he will be prepared for every single situation. So he's just got the right temperament. And as long as he's got the work ethic, which he clearly does, and he studies the game at a very high level, I'm not worried about Graham Barton.
No, I like that too. I mean, you wish it didn't happen, right?
Correct.
Because it did kind of mess the Bucs up. They had a potential go-ahead touchdown drive going there. But the fact that it did, and you can't turn back time. There's no time machine that we know of.
Yeah.
But I like that for him to have to stew on that and just drive on that. And he's a very confident guy.
Yeah.
So it's not going to crush him, but the fact that's probably gnawing at him.
Yeah.
All off season long. That was literally like his last play of his rookie season, right?
Yeah.
And and to me that's the kind of fuel that you want for your fire. And so I'm with you, man.
And I also don't think it's going to kill him in the sense of, like, it wasn't a good play, but it wasn't like, oh my God, you blew it, because the Bucs could have gone for it on 4th down.
Right.
They kicked the field goal the time.
It wasn't like Mark Andrews dropping a touchdown.
That's
wide
exactly
open.
what I was going to say, Scott. It wasn't like Mark Andrews, Baker Mayfield's good friend, who dropped that touchdown. That's it. Game's over.
They lost the game.
Over.
Yeah, right.
Right. It was botched snap. They could have went for it on 4th down.
Yeah.
What if Chase McLaughlin misses the kick? Then everyone's talking about the missed kick by Chase McLaughlin, but he hit it. And then, of course, the defense didn't get a stop. So like there are many other variables. It wasn't just Graham Barton messed up and the Bucs lost the game. It was part of it, but it wasn't the only thing, the way that it was as direct with, as you just mentioned, with Mark Andrews. So I think that's also good too, where it's annoying, but it won't kill his confidence the way.
Yeah.
And Mark Andrews has been in the league for a very long time. It's very different with Graham Barton just coming off of his first season.
Right.
So
that's right.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd situation, but I think in the end it will work out benefiting Graham Barton and hopefully the Bucs.
I agree. It's almost like when you go to walk-ons on a Tuesday. It works out.
Yes.
Why? Because it's all-day happy hour, folks. It's all day from open to close. It's happy hour plus $5 Tito's. Does it get better than that? I don't know. Eat like a winner, drink like a champ. 3 locations in the Tampa Bay area for walk-ons. We've signed them up for the whole year, so we're super excited to partner again with walk-ons. And that's in Wesley Chapel, Midtown Tampa, down there by the stadium, and out in Lakeland. You can enjoy $3.99 domestic pints, $5 premium house pours, or happy hour wines. $5.49 will get you the 22 big boy domestic drafts. $4 for the hush puppies or onion rings. $7 will get you a half order of the waffle cheese fries. They're good, and it's still a pretty big order. Or the boom boom shrimp, or the spinach and artichoke dip. And $8 gets you the boneless wings or the cheeseburger sliders. You can make an entire meal out of that happy hour menu, folks. It's one of the best happy hours in town. If you can't make it today to walk-ons, well, head over there tomorrow, because they have 2 happy hours on Wednesdays and Thursdays all year long from 3 to 6 and 9 to close. Walk-ons, again, eat like a winner, drink like a champ. Speaking of champs, if you have not tried a new golf course lately, well, I've got one for you to try. It's Heritage Isles Golf and Country Club up in New Tampa, right off of Bruce B. Downs Boulevard, ranked in the top 3 best value courses in Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg by Golf Advisor. That's a hell of a ranking. And Golf Advisor knows what they're talking about, because this is a beautiful course. It's challenging, but you don't have to be a golf pro to go out there and have fun. And for tee times, give them a call, 813-907-7447. I know we've had some afternoon and evening rain, but the mornings have been pretty good from a temperature standpoint and also a sunshine standpoint. So if you're looking for something to do this week, if you want to try a new golf course this weekend, give Heritage Isles Golf and Country Club, which is open to the public, a call and get your tee time reserved. Again, ranked in the top 3 best value course, which means it's not going to break your budget, in the Tampa, St. Pete area by Golf Advisor.
You want to do wide receivers, or you want to do tight ends next?
Let's stick with the line. Let's go to those tight ends, and then we'll transition to the grand finale, which would be the most loaded position. Not just in Tampa Bay, but across the NFL. It's an embarrassment of riches for Baker Mayfield at wide receiver. And you know what? His tight end room isn't bad either. Kind of underrated, Matt.
Certainly overlooked when you look at all the gadgets and talent that the Buccaneers have across their entire offense. So, you got to include Baker, you got to include the running backs, which we talked about yesterday. The tight ends are an interesting group because, Cade Otton has been the Iron Man. He's been Robert Downey Jr. Of this team, but he has flashes and great moments too, like when he leapfrogged this Raiders defender in that home game later on in the season. And I think the biggest credit that the Bucs tight ends can get, whether it's Cade Otton, who certainly leads the way, Payne Durham, who I think stepped it up when Cade Otton was out for a little bit, and Devin Culp as well, is they do a lot of the little things well that help this team that probably go unnoticed, and you don't totally see the stats and stuff that you would want from the tight end. But, this isn't like the 49ers with George Kittle, or I know he's a little older now, but the Chiefs with Travis Kelce, when Kelce was like the top target for Patrick Mahomes, or even Brock Bowers now with the Raiders. The Bucs offense isn't built to feed your tight end over and over and over, because he's not your best passing attack, and that's totally fine. So I love how Cade Otton has improved, as a running back, as a blocker for the running back. In certain situations. I like how Payne Durham has become somewhat of a Cam Brate copy and when it comes to getting in the red zone, because he's scoring touchdowns in the red zone for this team. And Devin Culp may have the best speed out of all of the tight ends. So it's a unit that's not going to get the stats and the numbers, but a group that could end up being very important. Like, I'm more intrigued, and I want Kate Otten to stay healthy and everything like that. But I'd be more intrigued to see what if Payne Durham got a little more playing time? What if Devin Culp got a little more playing time? Or, occasionally you go 3 tight ends. I know they go 12 from time to time with 2 tight ends, but 11 is their kind of standard base offense.
Yeah.
What if you utilize these guys again? If it's a situation where a couple of them at wide receiver need a break or whatever the case may be, like if Mike Evans is out for a series and it's Jalen McMillan and Trey Palmer, well, maybe you want to look at the tight ends a little bit more. So I love the physicality that Kate Otten brings, and I'm intrigued by the other 2 guys. And I know Keith is technically a tight end, but he's more of a fullback and a special teams guy at this point.
And I think, too, if you go back and look, and I dropped Josh Capo's really good, insightful article on Charlie Heck into the chat, so you can check that out for yourself. But one of the things that Josh pointed out in his article was, all of a sudden, guess what happened? How did the Bucs adjust when Tristan Wirfs, the left tackle, was injured against the 49ers and missed the rest of that game? Justin School filled in, and then School got the start the week after the bye week against the Giants up in New York. And what did the Buccaneers do? Well, they used a lot more 12 personnel, Matt. They always had a tight end on that left tackle side to help with the chips and help Justin School protect Baker Mayfield's blind side. You know what? Wouldn't be surprised at all if Josh Grizzard took some notes and said, I'm going to go back and do what my predecessor Liam Cohen did and use the tight ends a lot more. And like Kate Otten, Payne Durham has really stepped up and gotten stronger. He's been a better blocker and certainly was a better receiver last year. Caught his first 2 touchdowns down the stretch, really kind of erupted in that Panthers game. And I'm intrigued to see how he's going to do. We think Kate Otten is in line for a contract extension, and that might happen in training camp. One of the guys that we kind of skipped over a little bit, we'll get back around to. Matter of fact, we're going to end the show with some Luke Gedeke. How about that? We didn't really mention Luke Gedeke, but we're going to end the show with Luke Gedeke. But like Luke Gedeke, probably in line for a contract extension that will probably lock in Payne Durham as the number 2 guy for a while, with Otten sticking around as the number 1. But then you have to kind of wonder about Devin Culp. This guy is sneaky good. He's sneaky fast. And like Payne Durham in that Panthers game when Kate Otten was out, Culp really stepped in and he averaged 17 yards a catch, which is not a surprise. He was the fastest tight end coming out of the combine. Took him a while to really adjust to getting plays called in the huddle and having to kind of go through the motions of leaving the huddle, kind of looking at the defensive front and processing all that information. It was just different at Washington where like a lot of college programs, Oregon's one of those where they just kind of hold up the cards and you read the card at the line of scrimmage and they know what to do. So yeah, I think that I'm excited to see how this tight end 2 battle takes place between Payne Durham and Devin Culp this year in training camp.
Yeah, we understand what we're getting with Kate Otten, but him aside, I kind of like the 1-2 punch that we saw briefly of Payne Durham and Devin Culp, because Durham is a little bit more of your inline tight end lineup right next to the offensive tackle. Yeah, Culp with personality. I like using that one a lot. But Durham can line up, kind of smash heads a little bit blocking, and I think he can be a good, 3rd down tight end and red zone tight end like I talked about before. But if you want chunk plays and 15-yard receptions and maybe some yards after the catch, that's where Devin Culp comes in. Right. Not much of a physical blocking type of guy. Didn't do that a ton at Washington. But he can go and sprint down the field, get open, and maybe take advantage against the linebackers that he's going up against in certain situations. So with the talent you have at wide receiver, again, you're not going to see a lot of 12 personnel, 13 personnel, and stuff like that. But I wouldn't mind sprinkled in here and there. Again, if you're going to rely on the run game a little bit more with Tristan Wirfs out, throw in a couple of situations where maybe Kate Otten and Payne Durham are lined up on the line of scrimmage, but Devin Culp is lined out, with some of the wide receivers or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to utilize these guys. Again, they're not going to have crazy 125-yard games with 2 touchdowns and stuff where, Mike Evans, you can get that every other game. Maybe you see it like 1 game a season, but these guys can help out in certain little spots, certainly with Kate Otten, but with Payne Durham and Devin Culp as well. It's a very well-rounded group that is never going to get the headlines, but are certainly important to this team.
Sometimes you get the silver lining when an injury happens. And I think the silver lining for both Payne Durham and Devin Culp was getting to be featured more in the passing game. And really for Devin Culp was getting on the field.
Yeah.
Because O'Keefe had that number 3 role at tight end last year because of special teams. He's a very good special teamer. Don't really care to see him much on offense because he doesn't do much. He's an okay blocker and he's not a receiver.
Can't catch. No.
Right. But with Culp and Payne Durham, those last 2 games against the Panthers and the Saints, that really was a nice springboard, I think, for their 2025 training camp and season. And I'm really curious to see how yet another year in the offseason program benefits Payne Durham, and then also too what it will do for year 2 with Devin Culp, and not just that, but the consistency in this offense. Now, both of those guys, and Cade Otton and O'Keefe, and Tanner Towla, who's the perpetual training camp, guy that's body that sticks around on the practice squad. But I'm curious to see how the continuity and the consistency in this offense will benefit the entire tight end room. Justin Peel's done a really good job of developing this. It's a very underrated group. Did we lose Matt? Matt, are you there?
Hello?
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you lost me or I lost you. But
I don't know. It started spinning when you were talking, but it could have been either way. Last thing I got from you was Justin Peel. The last thing I would say about the tight ends really is, we want to talk about certain battles and stuff like that. And yes, there is a little bit of a battle between Payne Durham and Devin Culp for, spots 2 and 3, but each of these guys are going to be on the team. It's not like someone might be on the practice squad. They're both going to be on the team. So it's more of what can they do this season versus can they make the team, which is kind of interesting because we certainly can't say that about the wide receiver position.
Oh, no. And really, the real battle, I think, is going to be between the wide receivers and the tight ends for playing time. Are they going to go 11 personnel? Are they going to go 12 personnel a lot, right? Because if it's 12 personnel, that means 1 back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. 12 personnel would be 2 tight ends, 1 back. And then, of course, the pony package, that also usually takes a tight end off the field as well when you have 2 running backs. So that's going to be kind of the tug of war. It'll be interesting to see how Josh Grizzard fancies the personnel group. Again, with Tristan Wirfs out the first couple weeks, you probably will see more of the 12 personnel double tight end sets just to help Charlie Heck with the blocking at the left tackle position.
I'm curious too. One last thing is like the preseason, you're not going to give away a lot of your stuff on offense, but I'm curious about some of how they line up on offense. Will they even show anything that they might use in the first week of the season, like 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends? Because you don't even want to give the Falcons any of those type of looks in the preseason. So I think we might get something completely different in the preseason. And then, when you get to the regular season, just a formation that we haven't even watched yet. So I am curious about how drastically different it will, because you still get like 11 personnel in the preseason and then in the regular season. But now, knowing that Tristan Wirfs isn't in there, I don't think you want to give a team even an inkling of an idea of what they're going to be doing.
And the other thing we might see, which we didn't really see last year because of the injuries that rocked the wide receiver position, with Godwin out from week 8 on and Mike Evans missing about 4 games as well, you might see some 4 wide receiver sets. And why wouldn't you? Because you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin when he returns to the field and he's healthy. You got the first-round pick Emeka Egbuka, and you've got Jalen McMillan, who was a rookie star last year with 8 touchdowns, really came on down the stretch. Spread them out. Spread out that defense. Force the defense to get into a nickel or dime package. And you got Bucky Irving as your running back. And I'd love to see some draws with him up the middle and really just clear out that box. And maybe you've got one linebacker there who Bucky can make miss. And all of a sudden he's 20, 30, 40 yards down the field. So there's a lot that Josh Grizzard can do. Remember, Grizzard has a background coaching wide receivers, coached wide receivers at Miami for quite some time. So that's kind of the position he's gravitated towards. Mm-hmm. And now Tampa Bay has got an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver. And of course, it all starts with a future Hall of Famer, somebody named Mike Evans.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT for a reason. And I know Mike missed a couple of games due to injury, but I also felt like the Bucs did a pretty good job of getting Mike involved very often. And there's some times when Dave Canales was the offensive coordinator where it was like, why isn't Mike getting all of these targets? He's Mike Evans. Now, the stats may not necessarily show it because, again, Mike missed 3 games and it took him to the last game of the season to get it done. But as we saw with Liam Cohen, and as I believe that we'll see with Josh Grizzard, they're going to make sure Mike Evans gets some one-on-one opportunities. They're going to make sure Mike gets fed the football because he's that good. And now you add in a little bit more of the down the field game, which is only going to help Mike a little bit more because he makes some great contested catches.
He does.
Like, especially in that corner of the end zone are some of the best. But I love when it's a one-on-one opportunity, Mike against the defender, and kind of a 50-50 ball.
Yeah.
Mike is typically the one that either comes up with it or is drawing a pass interference penalty.
Yeah. It's not really a 50-50 ball with him, right? It's at least a 60-40 ball.
Yeah,
right?
That's fair. That's fair.
And we'll see too if his partner in crime, Chris Godwin, can return for the start of the season. I think we're going to get a much clearer picture of the Godwin timetable. At least I hope so. When we convene for training camp next week, and Chris is expected to miss most or all of training camp.
Yeah.
Remember, we didn't see Chris Godwin do any running whatsoever. The only thing we saw him do was walk out in the practice field, stand there and watch practice. Everything he's been doing rehab-wise has been away from the cameras, in the building, and I'm not sure if he's running now or not. We'll find out sooner rather than later. But when healthy, this guy is he's the straw that stirs the drink on offense. This is a different offense because it's LA Rams based, but it's similar to the Bruce Arians in that the slot receiver position is the featured position. It's not the vertical down the field attack that it was under Bruce Arians, but this is think Puka Nacua, think Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this offense is, and Chris Godwin was playing and putting up numbers like we've seen in LA with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp in his prime before he got injured.
He needs to get fully healthy. There's no question about it. But if he can get fully healthy, I think Chris Godwin can pick up right where he left off.
Yeah.
In last year's offense.
He already knows the offense.
He knows the offense. Everyone's back. It's Baker Mayfield again, same offensive line, receivers, all that stuff. And this guy was running roughshod against every defense he was going against. He was tops in the league in receiving yards. He was scoring touchdowns again, which was an issue.
He already had 5
the past couple of seasons. He was used in several different ways. He's important in the running game as well with his blocking ability. Probably the best blocking wide receiver on this team, but he was getting it done in the slot and just dismantling others trying to defend him on certain plays. Because you're putting Chris Godwin, who's a wide receiver 1 on, 18 other teams in this league.
Yep.
You're putting your essentially a wide receiver 1 against a CB3 or a CB4, whatever the case may be. And that's just an unfair advantage for the other team. So he needs to get fully healthy. I think there could be some tough moments in the beginning of the season for the Bucs offense if Chris Godwin isn't there with Emeka Egbuka getting acclimated, and we'll see how much Jalen McMillan takes a step next season. But once Chris Godwin is back, this thing will be humming.
I agree. And Emeka Egbuka is going to be really contending with that rookie sensation last year, Jalen McMillan. 8 touchdowns. I mean, that's quite the number.
Yeah.
For McMillan, they're going to be battling for that number 3 position, but it's a little bit not really apples and oranges. Actually, it is apples and oranges when you look at the comparison between the two. They're battling for number 3, but it's really just to get on the field and get some playing time. But Egbuka is going to be more of the slot receiver. He's built like Chris Godwin, 6'1", 205, whereas McMillan is more of that flanker. He's that outside Z receiver.
Yeah.
And again, really came on, had a bit of a slow start. Granted, he did catch his first touchdown pass on his first NFL reception after dropping what should have been a touchdown on his first pass, but really made up for it down the stretch. He became super valuable when Godwin was out. He kind of grew up fast, became a reliable target, was schemed open. I thought that Liam Cohen did a really good job of kind of scheming him open, getting his confidence going. And then the kid never looked back. And listen, if he's wide receiver 4 on the depth chart when it's all said and done, that's the envy of the league, man. There's so many teams that would love to have this guy's wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 2. And he will be a future starter. He and Emeka Egbuka will probably be the 1-2 punch that this offense will transition from when Mike Evans eventually hangs up the cleats and Chris Godwin's on a 3-year deal. But when Chris moves on, maybe to retirement, it's going to be the Emeka and the Jalen show.
Yeah, I think confidence is just the biggest thing for Jalen McMillan, because we saw how disheveled he looked and angry at himself when he dropped that initial walk-in touchdown in week 1 against Washington. And yes, he did make the catch later, but he just was not the same for the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Once he put everything together and, could figure out that, hey, he can hang with everyone here in this league. Right. Well, then he got a little too cocky. Remember, he got the stupid penalty for the gun points and finger points or whatever and stuff like that. So you want to calm that down a little bit. But Jalen McMillan, I think, you want to be as steady Eddie as possible. I don't think Jalen McMillan is steady Eddie, though. I think the highs are
He's
great.
Dynamic.
And the low, yeah, but the lows are very low. And that's okay with the wide receiver room that they have. It's not all going to be on the shoulders of Jalen McMillan. I'm curious if he can continue to build on what he did at the end of last season, because the touchdowns were fantastic, but the receiving yards weren't always there as well. Now, obviously, scoring touchdowns is the most important thing. And because he's a little more limited compared to what Emeka Egbuka can do, if he does end up being a wide receiver 4, which I think that's what the projections are right now, at least when Chris Godwin is around, I hope that doesn't knock or shake his confidence too much, because he can be so important to this team, but his head's got to be in the game. And that's what concerns me the most with Jalen McMillan.
I'm with you. Well, one guy that does not lack confidence is Tez Johnson. And I think he's got the front runner for the number 5 receiver job. He'll be battling really Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, and
Rakim Jarrett to a degree, and Cameron Johnson.
And Cam Johnson as well. And this guy probably will win the punt return job. He's got a lot of experience doing that at Troy and Oregon. Had a 85-yard touchdown last year with the Ducks. And Cam Johnson's also a player that really kind of was the darling of training camp last year, was not able to stay healthy. So you might see a little bit of Johnson on Johnson battle here. But Tez really showed his worth as a wide receiver, hooking up with Kyle Trask on a lot of deep balls. Got behind Tyke Smith one time, which was notable. And so he's kind of a big play waiting to happen, plays faster than his 4.51 speed. Cam Johnson, though, does have some wheels. And another guy that has some wheels that really has to have a big bounce back season is Trey Palmer, because he might be the fastest wide receiver on this team, running a 4.33. But questionable hands have popped up at inopportune times, and he was kind of in Liam Cohen's doghouse last year. We'll see if he gets a rebirth under Josh Grizzard. But he did make some plays in the offseason. Is still hanging around. He'll have to bring his A game and be really consistent catching the ball. And he probably has to win either the other kick return job next to Sean Tucker or the punt return job to stick.
Yeah, I'm curious if the Bucs keep 6 wide receiver. I think they have to keep at least 6 just based on all the talent that they have there. But yeah, how much different is Cameron Johnson versus Tez Johnson? At least Tez Johnson has already shown that deep ball ability, where Cameron Johnson was a little bit more, across the field, shorter plays, gadgets, stuff like that, but a ton of athletic ability. Sterling Shepard, again, too, I think he's going to end up on the practice squad because he doesn't want to go anywhere else. He only wants to play with Baker, and that's fine. He's, been long established in his career, doesn't really need to play football anymore if he doesn't want to. So he's probably destined for the practice squad. Trey Palmer, he has the big playability. It just has never really come about.
Just hasn't clicked.
Yeah, it just hasn't clicked for whatever reason. I think it would be important to hold on to him still, and maybe a team that's desperate for wide receivers at the trade deadline. Maybe you got like an extra draft pick for him or something like that. I do think it comes down to the Johnsons. Rakim Jarrett, I think, has been here long enough and hasn't proven anything just yet, where I don't even know if he makes the practice squad this year. But it's a deep group, no doubt about it. I think Rakim Jarrett could make it on a couple of other teams. I think Cameron Johnson makes the 53-man roster on a couple of other teams. But, that's the situation the Bucs are in. And Tez Johnson is, obviously Emeka Egbuka is, but as far as from wide receiver 5 on, Tez Johnson is kind of the next big thing, even though he's a tiny guy. And he might get the benefit of the doubt because of it.
Well, our big things at Pewter Report or our Pewter Platinum members greatly appreciate your support, as always, of our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. Want to shout out Scott Federico, Rachel Gordon, Noah Parr, Scotty J, Dave Anderson, Hezo813, Ash Fishpool, Joel L. Rican, Sam, John Dale Morris, Zap Brannigan, RP89, Eric McMillan, Connor For Reals, Kevin Thomas, Mario Thomas, Zach Jarvis, Leighton Carter, The Guy Is Gifted, Brandon Riley, Alec Bickler, and Nick Dubuque. Thank you so much for being Pewter Report TV channel members. If you want to join the festivities, you can do so by becoming a Pewter Report TV channel member. You get some cool perks like custom emojis and loyalty badges just by signing up for $3.99 a month. There's different membership levels you can explore. Just go to Pewter Report TV. It's our YouTube page and hit the join button. It'll have all this information for you right there. And then you find the right membership level that fits your budget. We use our Pewter Report TV travel, or we should say our the money we get from this channel for our travel budget. We're going to Pittsburgh for the joint practices to bring you guys the best Bucs coverage. We're going to send Adam Slavon and Matt Matera to watch the joint practice with the Bucs and the Steelers. The Bucs will also have a solo practice up there in Pittsburgh. And we greatly appreciate your support. One guy that we're going to highlight just on the way out today is a guy we kind of overlooked. And we don't want him to kick our ass because he might. He's really big, and he's kind of the enforcer along the offensive line. Friend of the program. We're talking about Luke Gedeke, who is probably going to get a contract extension sooner rather than later. I think Gedeke and Otten might be the two guys that the team targets in training camp to try to get something done. And what I love about Luke Gedeke is not just going from bust to boom, from left guard where he really struggled to the right tackle position where he has become a Pro Bowl caliber right tackle, but he's kind of adopted that Ryan Jensen enforcer mentality. And with him anchoring that offensive line with that kind of nastiness, he really brings that punch to this offensive line. There's a lot of talent there and a lot of good athletes, but there's not anyone quite like Gedeke who will be the first to get in any defensive lineman's face.
Yeah, he's important to this team, has a great story, and has quickly built his way into being one of the better offensive tackles in this league, and just kind of gets overshadowed by Tristan Wirfs a little bit. But who knows? Maybe he'll get a big name for himself with these games without Tristan Wirfs. Yeah. Before we close out the show, we got a $4.99 super chat from Paul Bowen. Thank you very much. Who says, shout out to Troy, Alabama. Saw Tez Johnson in person many times. A very electric player. Great era of Troy football when he was there. Many NFL players from that team.
Yeah, that's right. As Nathan Elliott says, Luke the Glass Eater Gedeke, also known as Luke the Lifter, is an awesome person and player. A lot of fun to talk to. Always has some insight that many may notice. And I'll tell you what, he was on the Bucs cruise. We got a chance to really see him up close and in person. And just like Cody Malk, these guys, these offensive linemen just keep getting bigger in the weight room, man. They really put in the work. It's going to be really fun to see. It's fun to see our YouTube channel grow by leaps and bounds. Thanks to you guys. As we said earlier, we're on the way to 20,000. You can help us out by going to Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, hit and subscribe. It's free, and it just helps us get closer to 20,000, which we're going to do sometime in the month of August.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Thank you, everybody, for your support. And if you're not already doing so, please follow us on our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video as well. Who you are most excited about for this season. Tomorrow, we talk about the defensive tackles, outside linebackers, and inside linebackers. The next day, on Thursday, we talk about the secondary and the special teams. So that'll do it for us on today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.